3 years ago, after South Australia suffered a statewide blackout, Alan Finkel was asked to review the nation's electricity system.
The potential peacemaker is Chief Scientist Alan Finkel.
While mainly tasked with ensuring cheap and reliable power, his answer was a clean energy target.
The mix is not as important as the outcome.
We needed an emissions reduction trajectory, he argued, to give the electricity sector confidence to invest.
Investment never comes with certainty. What the investors want is clarity. They want some vision of the future.
Alan Finkel has once again been involved in trying to find a way forward, chairing a panel which was behind the release today of the government's latest energy policy. But the world has moved on and the government handed Dr Finkel a different brief.
There will be no carbon tax under the government.
And she will be judged.
Decision to terminate the carbon tax
is driven by economics and engineering.
The policy announced today is the latest in our tortuous debate about emissions reductions and energy. From governments proposing an emissions market, to a brawl about an emissions price, to just setting a target for emissions reductions. And now we won't even have a longer-term target. In essence, the plan now is that the government's role is reduced to identifying a few emerging low-emissions technologies and investing some taxpayer funds in their development.
Let's be clear. There are only two ways to reduce emissions. You either suppress emissions-intensive economic activities through some version of taxation, or you improve those activities. There is no third way.
There's no question in my mind about the science. The only issue is how do we get there as quickly as we can. I believe that through the low emissions technology statement that was announced today, we're identifying pathways that can rapidly take emissions out of the Australian economy in a cost-effective way.
The roadmap proposes taxpayer backing for 5 areas of low emissions technologies: hydrogen, energy storage like batteries, low carbon steel and aluminium production, carbon capture and storage, and soil carbon. The government argues that by identifying the new priority technologies like hydrogen, it sends clear signals to the market about where it should invest. And this is crucial, as it is going to be the private sector, not government, which is making the big investment decisions in the future.
And with the economic conditions that we're in 2020 and for the next few years, governments are going to be very fiscally constrained and are going to be relying upon the private sector and the investment community to put capital to the development of new technologies. The important thing to remember is that governments in all developed and emerging markets are developing similar plans and similar roadmaps. And if investors can't get the security and can't get the policy frameworks that they need in Australia, then they will go to other markets, to other projects, to other economies and put their capital there.
The main role the government will be playing is by effectively providing seed capital for projects in these new technologies. It will seek to do this by changing the laws about what Australia's green banks, the Australian Renewable Energy Agency and the Clean Energy Finance Corporation can invest in, expanding their lending to non-renewable energy projects.
The nature of R&D portfolios is that you have to place bets. We're placing a bet on a portfolio here.
But there are questions about some of these technologies, particularly hydrogen and carbon capture and storage. While many countries are investing in so-called green hydrogen, produced using renewable energy, in Australia the proposal is also for so-called blue hydrogen from fossil fuels, with resulting emissions buried in carbon capture and storage schemes.
The reality is, as we move into a clean hydrogen economy, no one will buy hydrogen unless it's clean, which either means it came from a renewable source or it came from a fossil fuel with high percentage carbon capture and storage.
With so much uncertainty in these technologies, it only increases the investor demand for certainty wherever they can find it, as a not disinterested party observed today.
In the energy sector, people are just that they are punch drunk with these random interventions from government. It's got to stop. We just need a coherent energy and climate policy.
There's a reason why investors, banks, mining companies, technology companies, state governments, a number of global authorities are all pledging their commitment to the net zero by 2050 goal, because it helps us to plan for the transformation of the energy sector that's coming.
But voters could be forgiven for just being confused.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.